Hello and welcome back to the Avoid the Tyrewall podcast. Today I'm joined by a special guest, Dom Shaw. Dom, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hello there, I'm Dom Shaw. I am a disabled racing driver for a team called Team BRIT.
So, how did you become a fan of racing?
So I became a fan of racing through my dad. He watches Formula One and all that sort of thing, but he also raced himself when I was young. So he'd have his car in the garage, and I'd help him work on it, and then I'd also, go to tracks like Brands Hatch to see him race.
So, can you talk to us a bit about your condition?
So I have a disability called spina bifida and hydrocephalus. What that means for me is I can't feel my legs from my knee down. I've got patchy feeling. I can't feel my feet at all, and I can't move my feet or toes. The hydrocephalus is where I've got a tube in my head because the fluid in my brain doesn't drain correctly. So the tube drains the excess fluid from my brain down into my stomach, and that's called a shunt.
Does obviously how you can't feel your feet and stuff, does that affect blood flow to that area at all, or is it like regular blood flow?
I've got blood flow that goes there, but it is poor, what they call poor circulation. So I get very cold feet and legs and all that sort of thing. And where the blood flow isn't quite correct, there's a lot of muscle wastage around my calf area. So I've basically got calves that are about, I can put my I can put my fingers around it, one side to the other. So.
Wow. Um, how does your disability affect things such as training and potential driver swaps?
In regards to training, what I tend to do when I'm training by myself and I don't have a personal trainer with me is I use the machines in the gym. Because if I was to use free weights, that means I'd have to go and get the weight, then bring it to the bench, and then do the sets that are we required to do, and then take it back. So that's probably a bit harder work, and I'll be working out a little bit more. It's easier for me to use the machines at the gym. So that's the way I get around it. And then again, I can use my crutches. I use some Canadian crutches to get around. So accessibility to things like gyms and things like that aren't too much of an issue for me. And then driver swaps for us, they're timed in that we have a certain amount of time from when we enter the pit to when we exit the pit to do our driver swaps and do the pit stop itself. So the driver swap isn't too much of a problem. And with racing drivers as well, what you have to do to pass your exam, to pass your ARDS test, to become a racing driver, you have to show that you can exit a car within 10 seconds. Without being able to demonstrate that, you're not allowed a racing license. So any driver that you can see can do that. So yeah, driver swaps aren't too bad. We will have a mechanic or my teammate that will have my wheelchair. If I'm getting out of the car, he'll have the wheelchair there ready. So the door will open while I'm turning off the car, taking off the seatbelts, and prepping myself to get out of the car, and then the wheelchair will already be there for me to get in, then move away quickly, and then very similar for when I'm getting back in as well. The teammate normally takes the wheelchair away, so then the mechanic can strap me in.
What, hypothetically, and I don't wish this on you, but what would happen, say you DNF'd in a gravel trap? How would you get around that kind of scenario?
So what happens with that is in driver's briefing in the morning, you'll introduce yourself to the clerk of the course, and you'll also give them your racing number, so that they know. Now, car 38 has a disabled racing driver in it that may struggle to get out of the car potentially, or have certain more difficulties than someone else. And then they will obviously let the marshals know in regards to that as well. So if you're in a safe position or off the track or on it, depending on where you are, as long as you're not in any danger by staying in the car, so the car's not on fire, there's no, it's not getting hot in there or anything like that, and you're better off waiting in the car for them to bring someone round to then come and, you get like the safety car, you get a medical car as well, and they would come round to get you. So it's not too much of an issue. Luckily, I haven't had a DNF yet. I was able to complete all my races last year, so I've not experienced that. I know other people have, but yeah, that is what happens.
That is a lot to process all at once, but obviously it's very logical.
Yeah.
What series have you raced in up until this point?
So this was my first year. So I started this year as a rookie, and we raced in the BRIT Car Trophy Championship.
Can you tell us a bit more about Brit Car? Because I've seen about it, but I'm not sure what actually like races in the series.
So BRIT Car Trophy Championship is an endurance series made up of two races, so one qualifying session and two races of 50 minutes. And within that 50 minutes, you have to make one mandatory pit stop, like I explained earlier, that's timed, where you may swap with the driver, but you don't have to. So you can do the whole 50 minutes by yourself. You don't have to have a teammate. And yeah, so it's two races of 50 minutes with one mandatory pit stop.
What happens if you go over the time in the pit stop or you go under it by a significant amount?
So if we go over it, doesn't matter. If we go under it, we're penalised, and you're penalised. So you're penalised if you speed, obviously. You'll be brought in for a stop and go. And the same for if you exceed your pit stop time, even if it's by, under a second. It's that, the tenth is a tenth at the end of the day. So you would still be brought in for a pit stop infringement.
That's brutal.
I
Um,
know. So we've got a pit stop timer in the car,
oh, nice.
and that is programmed. So at the start of the race, you're told, before the start of the race, you're told that your pit stop time is, say, 2 minutes long. So the pit stop time will be set for 2 minutes, and it recognises the beam as you come in. So it recognises the pit stop beam as you come in, and then the same as it goes out. So it'll activate as it goes in, and the time will start. And then as you drive away, it will tell you if you're going to be under it or over it, so you know how to judge your speed in the pit lane.
Does everyone have the same pit timer, or does it like vary from car to car?
It varies from car to car. So some people, you can see from their onboard, will have a stopwatch that I'm guessing they start when they enter, and then they know how close they are to the pit stop time. Whereas ourselves, it's automatic for us, which is good.
Yeah, and like, sorry, I meant, does everyone have like 2 minutes, or does that vary?
So no, it will vary from car to car. So if in the class, your car potentially has an advantage over another car, um, whether that be performance or aero, your pit stop time will be, say, longer, so that then when you come out of the pit stop, you'll be X amount behind that person to make it as even as possible at the end of the race. So to make it as close as possible, to make the racing close. So yeah, we don't have the same pit stop time. It's all judged on performance.
Which cars participate in the Brit Car Trophy?
So we get a varied amount of cars in there. So I race in the BMW 1 Series. And then other cars in my class were Ginettas, so Ginetta Junior cars. So that was quite fun. And then you'll have another class of car is class two, and then the Team BRIT car that has a BMW 240i races in that. They raced against a TT in that class, and then you've got in class one you had TCR cars, and then other Ginettas and things like that, and other BMWs as well. So it's a varied amount of cars in there.
It's kind of like the World Endurance Championship, isn't it? How you've got so many different kinds of cars all together.
Yep,
Um,
multi-class racing.
yes, it sounds so fun. Um, which circuits did you visit last season?
So Brit car visits. Well, this year they went to Brands Hatch. They went to Snetterton, Donington, um, Alton Park. Yeah, and we did Donington twice and Snetterton twice this year. So
That
seven
seems
seven rounds altogether.
it seems to be like a really common thing to do, like either Donington twice or Silverstone twice in like some of the other series that I watch.
Yeah, it's good as well because otherwise you've only visited that track once a year, and as you go through, especially someone like myself who hasn't had much experience, you build yourself up throughout the weekend, and then that's it. So it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to progress on that track again until I go back. So they'll be able to go back later in the year. You're like, right, this is where I was at before we left last round, and you want to then progress again for the following round. So it's a good idea, I think.
And like the fact you've got different layouts of the same circuit, like the GP, like you've got Brands Indy and then you got Brands something else.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
good
So
as well.
yeah, they raced around the GP circuit, so that was good.
What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced so far in your career?
For me, being a rookie, having cars of multiple abilities and speeds going around me was probably my biggest challenge. So my experience before joining Team Brit on a racetrack was just through track days. And on track days, you're only allowed to overtake on the left on the majority of circuits. So if you stay to the left, no one's going to overtake you. So technically, you're not at any risk of anyone dive bombing you or anything like that. Whereas obviously, when you're racing, they can overtake wherever they want, whenever they want, and you have to be watching your mirrors at all times while concentrating on your own lines and not making sure that you're not ruining your own race as well. So obviously giving the cars the space that they require, but then not slowing yourself down too much that then you're gonna compromise yourself to win the race.
Fair enough. Do you think it's easy to get like flustered in those situations, like and be like, "Oh my God, there's a like an Audi TT over there, and there's someone else over there." I'd like think I'd probably cry, to be honest.
I'm so I'm quite good at watching my mirrors, so I can see them coming from quite far back. But that's also a disadvantage because you know what's coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a challenge, and obviously they've got their own race as well, and they don't want to be held up if or anything like that. So it's a judgment call at all times, but good fun.
What moment in your career are you most proud of?
So this year we won our championship, so we won our class in class three. So that was the biggest achievement. Totally unexpected from the start of the year. Thinking that coming into racing was more about building experience and confidence and learning from my teammates and bonding with the team. So then being able to take home the championship as well was a definite bonus.
Very well done. How important has sponsorship been in your career, and how should potential sponsors reach out?
So with Team BRIT, drivers have to drive. Team BRIT isn't a charity, so every driver has to fund their own racing seat, and then we do that through sponsorship. Um, and for if anyone ever wants to reach out to the drivers or myself, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and I also have my own website as well that has my current proposal for sponsors on there. So yeah, that's the way to reach out to us, and it's obviously really important that we raise enough sponsorship to be able, because otherwise we won't be able to go racing. So it's definitely important for us, and we make sure that we also give back to our sponsors as well. So there's hospitality that we can provide at racetracks, track days, all the social media and image rights as well. Along with we're in the paper quite a bit. So where everyone likes to see and read our story of how we're achieving in racing, we're in the paper quite a bit, and also Team BRIT provide their own e-zine as well that provides advertising opportunities for sponsors.
I will put the details of your website in the uh, description.
Ah, brilliant, thank you.
So, we've obviously talked a bit about Team Brit, but how did you end up racing with them?
So I saw Team BRIT through a feature on Formula One. Yeah, I never knew that disabled people were going racing, to be honest, until I heard about them. So once I saw that feature, I started following them on social media, and then I got in contact with them in, I want to say, 2021, where I did a track day with them. And I had their driver coach with me, and we went out on track, and I enjoyed it so much that I immediately came in and I said, I'd like to go again. Have you got any more room for today? So I got some more laps out in the car in the second session, and as we came in, he said, that went really well. Have you thought about joining the team? And at that thought, well, that would be great if I could. And at the time, unfortunately, there wasn't any space. Um, and then later on, what was it? About September 23, I emailed the founder, Dave Player, and I said, is it possible that I could go racing with the team? And he said, there's space. You can come racing. I was like, right, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it. Take the opportunity while it's there. So that was it. It all happened very quickly for me. So I spoke to Dave in September. I got my racing license in October. I met the team in November. I bought my racing racewear equipment in December, and then I signed the contract in January. And then we were going racing in the new year. So it all happened very quickly for me.
That is a pretty fast timeline, isn't it? How have the race cars you race been adapted to meet your specifications? You mentioned on your website, I think it was Team Brit world leading hand controls.
Yeah. So Team BRIT, they've created their own hand controls so that when we're in the car, it doesn't put us at any disadvantage to any of our competitors. So on their steering wheel, where you would normally expect for the gear paddles to be, so the flappy paddles for the gears, that's where our accelerator and brake is. So we've got the accelerator on the right, which is a linear paddle, and the same with the brake. And then by our thumbs, we've got our gear change, so gear up and gear down. So we don't have to take our hands off the steering wheel at any time. So yeah, I think they're on something like version 9 now, where they're constantly looking to improve every time.
That seems very like cool, and it's really good that like they're like making these waves. Um, but have you seen an increase in the accessibility of motorsports? Do you think motorsport is becoming more accessible?
It's becoming more accessible. Well, motorsport is the most expensive thing you can do. And the money situation will never change. However, being accessible for disabled racing drivers, I think it has improved, say, throughout 10 to 15 years. For instance, the time in which you can get out of a car. So at the moment, it's set at 10 seconds. It used to be 6 to 8 seconds. So I'm not saying they've lengthened it for disabled racing drivers, but it's made it more accessible in that respect. And teams like Team BRIT are always pushing to make it more accessible for other drivers. And I think that they definitely have made a difference for sure. And by doing so and going out there and not only competing but being competitive definitely shows that there is, disabled racing drivers deserve to be on the track, and there shouldn't be anything in their way as long as they're safe to do so and they pass their medical. There should be nothing in their way to stop them from doing so.
Where would you like to take your career in like the next few years, let's say?
So, Team Brit's goal is to be the first all disabled racing team to race at Le Mans. And when they are ready to race at Le Mans, that's the team I want to be in. I want to be one of those drivers racing at Le Mans with the team. So that would be a really good goal towards the end for sure.
Do you have anyone that you aspire to be like or look up to in terms of overcoming physical challenges?
So more recently, Robert Wickens. So, for anyone who doesn't know who Robert Wickens is, he was an IndyCar driver that had a crash on an oval. And then, unfortunately, that accident meant that he had a spinal injury. And he has gone through rehabilitation and is now back racing. And not only back racing, but winning races and winning championships, as far as I'm aware. So that's really good. And then other people may know, more famously, Nick Hamilton. He was racing in touring cars, which was amazing. And also, Nick used to be permanently in his wheelchair, and then when he got the racing bug, if you like, and also he wanted to improve his life. He thought, I want to not always be in my wheelchair, and built himself up to be able to walk without the need of a wheelchair or any aids. So they are definitely two people that I look up to.
Do you think that you may be an inspiring figure to other racers or racing fans who feel as though doors may have been shut because they have a disability?
I hope so. I really do. If that's what the team was created for, to show you that just because you have a disability doesn't mean you can't compete in motorsport. So I really do hope that, even if it's just one person, then it's made a difference, hasn't it? And it's achieved its goal. So I hope I do. And, if anyone ever wants to reach out to us or talk about how they would get involved or get onto a track or anything like that, by all means do contact any of our racing drivers or the team. And we can always give you any information you need to make dreams come true.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of the Avoid the Tyrewall podcast, and thank you to Dom for doing this interview. See you next week. Bye!